Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated. Oh, check 1, 2. Hello.
Sounds good.
We got Ralph Sutton.
Hey.
Is that how I say your name? Ralph Sutton.
How else would you perform? Would you pronounce that? Well, perform it. How else would you pronounce that? There's not too many other ways.
SUTTON.
Like Sutton Place.
Ralph SUTTON.
That makes me sound more. It was something like SUTTON or something. I forget. It was because my family was Syrian, and my dad was first generation. But my grandfather came in here. They changed the name. They said, "All right, you're Sutton now." It was like Suttania or something Syrian, something Arabic.
Suttania.
Yeah, something like that. And they said, "It's Sutton now. Welcome to America."
Raphael Suttania.
It makes me sound so much more fancy than I am.
Raphael.
Now you sound Spanish.
Hello, Raphael. Hello, mate. We have Raphael Sutton here, mate.
I can't do accents. I wish I could do fucking accents.
Easy. I can't either,
That's
dude.
a good one, Joe.
That was okay, actually.
Keep that up.
I just got lucky.
Well, also, it started Arabic, then it went Spanish, and then it became English.
I don't know about his Arabic, but his English is good.
So, hey, Ralph, thanks for coming and doing our podcast.
No worries. I like that you already pluralized it for you guys. The guy that's shoved in the corner like some sort of redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, he's on camera.
I see that. I've watched a couple episodes. I know.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
I prepare. I'm not the neophyte to this game.
No, I know. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about is because you're a podcast expert.
I would say it's funny is that I'm looked at that as that now, but I've been doing it 5 years.
Right.
And went in knowing nothing.
Right.
And then within a couple of years to get hired, I was hired by CBS to consult their podcast group for a couple of their shows and stuff. Yeah. And it just shows you how new
it is.
The world is, that some idiot that's been doing it for 2 years is looked at as an expert at the time. But I went on Reddits and everything else and watched YouTube videos just like everybody else to try and figure it out. Yeah. And now looked at as someone that knows what he's talking about for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, you do. I mean, you got this fantastic podcast studio in the East Village.
Worked hard on it.
That's incredible. It's like
it's the antithesis of this.
Thanks a lot, Ralph.
Well,
thanks a lot,
we're going
Raphael
for vibe. We're going for vibe and character.
Hey, man, if you want to take us on, we'll come in that studio, that fancy studio. Well, what I like about it is just you can access the TV. It's the Joe Rogan
Right, we
style.
have the TV. We also have the nice outdoor space. And I purposefully, first of all, I looked for 6 months to find the right location. I probably looked at 500 spaces to find. I wanted it to feel speakeasy-ish and have a cool underground vibe. I was hoping for outdoor space because everybody smokes these days. Right. And not a couple of places we saw, you had to take an elevator to the top floor to go to the back to go smoke. And that just, even though they might have been better spaces and about the same money, it just didn't make sense in terms of the grand picture of the whole thing. So I was trying to tick as many boxes as possible when I found the space. And it's 4 blocks from my house. So when something goes wrong, I can be there in 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's super convenient.
Yeah, you're around the corner from me. So.
Right around the corner from me too. Now, and I'm becoming a regular.
Yeah, you've been on. You did my show.
Yeah.
First S.D.R. and that got a good response. It was nice to see.
I'm happy that it did.
Yeah, we do about we're not blowing up the world, but we do pretty well numbers wise. Right. And then Marcus, who I did the other show with called Sherpa and the Schmuck, you just did that one, and you two got into what I imagined would happen, somewhat of a heated debate. Yeah. And now he wants you back, so you're doing a second part.
I know he wants me back. It's a setup though this time.
Yeah, you always think that you thought
I
SDR
thought it
was
a setup last time, but this time I'm pretty convinced it's a setup.
Are you gonna go prepared?
No, I'm just gonna go because I don't know why. I like this guy. This guy's all right.
I'm a pretty genuine dude.
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from here, born and raised, Brooklyn, New York.
That's amazing.
And,
which part of Brooklyn?
How well do you know Brooklyn?
I mean, I lived there for 15 years, but not that well.
Yeah, the area it's not.
It's so all over.
It's so huge. I mean, it's one of the biggest cities in the country, but not cities, but one of the biggest, boroughs, whatever they call it. It's called Gravesend, which is near Sheepshead Bay. Okay. So most people know Sheepshead Bay, right on the water by Coney Island and stuff like that. But it's called Gravesend. It's about 5 minutes from Sheepshead Bay, and it's not a very popular area. At the time when I was growing up, it was super Jewy. I'm especially Syrian Jew, which is what I'm half Syrian Jew, and now it's very Russian. But at the time, it was very Jewy.
Oh, that's cool.
But then I went to college in Albany, and then when I graduated, I moved into Manhattan. I've been living in Manhattan ever since.
And what did you study?
You know what's funny is that it looks like I'm a genius because this is what I'm in now. I'm in communications and business.
Yeah.
So, wow, this guy really dove into it right. Mm-hmm. But I was the first kid in my whole family, no matter how far out you want to go to college. Mm-hmm. So I went just to say, let me just fucking go to college, right? And be the first. But I went I took months off of classes and just partied and never took it seriously. And on the third year, you have to pick what your major is, and I just looked at all the classes I'd taken randomly. I'm like, oh well, if I do this and this, I can get communications and business. So it was the easiest way out, but it wasn't planned at all. And now I just happen to be in that business,
in communications and business.
Yeah, so it looked like, wow, this kid knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
but I definitely went. I would not go to class. I did not take it seriously.
Yeah. So it didn't help.
Didn't help at all. Not at all. I think the only thing that, if I ever had kids, you have kids?
No.
If I ever have kids, I would make them take a year off and work and experience the world, and then decide. Unless you're someone that's like, I definitely want to be a doctor. Oh my God, I'm so into law. Right. Something that makes sense for the scholastic path. Other than that, I think you need to experience the real world before you make any decisions.
Yeah, and nowadays you can educate yourself.
That's the thing. I'm a big fan of that. Google and YouTube. Google and YouTube. That's it. You don't need to do it unless you need accreditation for some reason. Why would you not go to just school of Google and YouTube? It makes no sense.
Well, and now they're talking about taking away a lot of people's platforms on YouTube.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
December 10th, I think.
It's definitely happening. That's why we started Gas Digital.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that you cannot be beholden to another company.
That's right.
And you know that look what happened was like 4 years ago, the Adopolis, or whatever they call it, Adocalypse, I always say it wrong, where YouTube changed it, where if you had what they deemed inappropriate material, you could no longer make money on YouTube. So it's like, Russ was like, fuck YouTube. I mean, I like to be on YouTube because it is the second most searched engine, after Google. It's YouTube, and you just want to reach those people. But it's the worst platform.
It's becoming worse.
And it's all going to get worse. It's all going to get worse. So that's why we started Gas, because I just wanted to be only accountable to myself and not have to worry about anybody else.
What is that platform?
So we have a network. We started now it's 3 years. Excuse me. It'll be 4 years technically in May. But I don't consider us a company until we moved into the studio that Joe went into, which is a year and a half. So we are our own network, Gas Digital Network. We started with 4 shows and 10,000 listeners a week. And now we have 20 shows and we near 2 million listeners a week on our own platform and everywhere else. And
advertisers come to you.
Advertisers come to us, but we also have a subscription model. We have it's $7 a month if you use a coupon code. They pay for perks like getting it early, getting it without commercials, getting it in HD, and access to the entire catalog. The newest 15 episodes are free for everybody on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast. But if you're a big fan, you pay the extra money and you get access to the unfiltered content. Because even on YouTube, sometimes we have to block out things because we would get shut down.
Right.
And I just don't. I think that you should be as like such a respected artist. I would imagine the idea of your creativity being edited in any way.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. This free speech thing drives me absolutely up a tree. And I talk about it a lot. And usually people just look at me blankly when I bring it up or haven't heard of it. And that also drives me nuts. I'm like, because I don't want to be like whatever, like a conspiracy theorist or whatever. But it's just like
that's even a bad word.
It's daunting. And I it seems to me though that they're just like cutting themselves, like shooting themselves in the foot, because everybody's going to go to like BitChute.
Oh yeah, BitChute's becoming more and more popular.
Yeah, I just keep hearing that word. And it's like, why they're giving away the business basically.
I mean, ask MySpace how it feels to start putting in controls.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Yes, I don't really know why they're doing that.
It's just we have leaned more and more politically correct, especially in the current. And I think there might be a pendulum shift back at some point.
Let's hope so.
But right now, it's getting comical. Yeah. How crazy it is.
It's comical too, because when I bring it up, and then they somehow lumped it in with like, if you are pro free speech, then you're also kind of a right-wing nut job conspiracy theorist.
Right. And then,
so to me, if you're going to correlate those two realities, which somehow those have been correlated, I feel like that is an alarm in and of itself.
Right,
that should already be alarming to people.
Right.
That to say, hey, I'm pro free speech.
Yeah.
Is somehow like almost like you're almost a fascist.
Right. That's
like
a sad truth.
Like that's wild. Wake up.
Yeah.
If that is correlated, wake up.
I get in trouble a lot because I have often said I'm proud to live in a country where racism exists. And what I mean by that is we live in a free speech world.
Right.
You want to be an idiot? You want to have that belief?
Yeah.
You're allowed to. I don't have to agree with it.
Right.
I can think you're a moron, but thank God we live somewhere where you can feel that way. As if in North Korea you can have 14 haircuts as a man.
Yeah.
One of each person that ruled over North Korea.
Yeah.
So I don't want to live there. I want to live where if you want to be a racist asshole, you can be a racist asshole.
Yeah.
That's what I would rather do.
And instead of like calling somebody who says, I like free speech, oh, well, then they're a racist. Why don't you call people who are racist who say that they're racist?
Yeah,
if somebody's a racist, they're going to say, I'm a racist.
Oh, they're going to do something very racist.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other subset of free speech that really bothers me, which is probably 80% of people that say they believe in free speech, is like you can talk about whatever you want unless it offends me.
Unless it offends me.
And that's where the biggest tightrope is like sitting at a comedy club and watching a gay guy laugh at the black joke and then get mad at the gay joke.
Yeah.
You can't have it that way.
Right.
It makes no sense. Everything's fine or nothing's fine.
Right. I wrote a tweet like about like because I was like on YouTube, and it's not just like political stuff. It's health food, alternative health food stuff.
We just talked about that video you sent me with the Joe Rogan thing.
Yeah, they're getting shut down, and I wrote something about that. Like obviously our perception, they're attempting to control our perception, because if you control people's perception, you can control people. And so I wrote something like that, and then I got a response and it was about a health food channel. And then this lady wrote something like, I went down a right-wing rabbit hole, and they're a bunch of fascists. I'm glad they're getting silenced. That was the response in America. I mean, it's like, I always think like, whatever happened to, I don't have to agree with what you say, but I will like die for your right to say it. That is the country I grew up in.
I think that when Obama became president, the racists of America that didn't want a black president started this dichotomy of your way or my way, and then it got further down that path once Trump became president. And I think it's only been in the past, at least that I see it, in the past 10, 15 years, where it's become this, either you agree with me or you're against me. We can't have an argument or a discussion.
Or we can't just have a like civil discussion about like we have different views.
Right. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad was a Republican, my mother was a Democrat. They were married. Why not? You know, and I don't assign myself to either party, but it is a weird thing now that it's either we agree on everything or we can't be friends. Right. Which makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Marcus, the guy that we were on my other show, Sharpen the Schmuck, he's 100% vegan, raw food vegan guy.
Right.
I don't agree with that at all. Doesn't mean we can't be friends. We joke about it all the time. We talk about it.
Exactly.
Why can't you be that way? It makes no sense.
I don't know.
I don't agree with semen retention, but I can be friends with you.
Well,
you're not alone.
I'm going to convert you yet. What, you don't agree with semen retention either?
You know, I don't practice it, but everyone we've brought it up to, we're like, what?
What?
No.
You know what's funny, though? When he described it about the energy, and also the thing he said, which does resonate. How do you feel after you have an orgasm? You're relaxed. You're not in you're just content with
you're
the
not
world.
Hungry anymore.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that.
No, I have the tiger.
I just don't agree with not allowing yourself that core happiness.
Yeah.
You know? But I do think what you're saying makes sense. I think perhaps a middle ground of not having meaningless sex versus not having no sex, somewhere in the middle where you're only having that allowance with someone you connect with. I could understand that more.
No, you have sex still, but there's there's a way to like elongate it and keep it going and going and going.
But I think it is that for so long,
got to read that book, The Multi-Orgasmic Male.
For so long, you didn't make a woman come that you felt it was fair that you started retaining yourself from having one. That's what I think.
That's what you. That's your suspicion.
That's my theory. That's my theory. It's like I might as well be in this with you.
All right, I'll take that one on the chin.
That's what she said, right? Come on now.
Ow. Ow. So, what would you like for beginning podcasters? What would you recommend that they do?
Well, it's fine. I actually, which is a nice little claim to fame this year. After I interviewed, had Mark Cuban on my show, and it was a great interview. And then a lot of like business type magazines and online places started hitting me up for questions and stuff.
Right.
And earlier this year, I was on the cover of Entrepreneurial.com about how to start a podcast. Right.
Nice.
And I really believe that the beauty of a podcast is you need nothing. You really can do it on your phone. If you want to do it with zero investment, it's going to sound like shit. But you can start just talking to your phone, right? And there are apps like Anchor that can just put it up for you.
Right.
It's the cheapest barrier to entry. The reason why I tell people just do that is you'd be amazed that once you tell someone just start, how many people don't do that? And if you can't do that, then you're not made for this because there's so much more to it. And if you just can't download an app and hit start and start recording, you're never going to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's like in everything, if you just start, like even like things have been good at in the past, like making an album or something, like I'll procrastinate getting back into that process for months. I'll just sit on a couch for 6 months, like staring at a guitar, going like, why?
Practicing your semen retention.
No, that's when I'm not. So when you practice the semen retention,
you're up and running.
You get up off that fucking couch, bro. You can't deal with it. You're like, you're levitating off the couch. You float to the guitar, and the guitar just like floats in your hands.
The truth is people just don't want to start. They want it to be spoon-fed to them. That's what most people think. Like, how do I just have what you've done already? How do I get to 100,000 listeners a show and make money on it? Whatever. It starts with step 1. It doesn't start with step 27.
No,
and nobody wants to hear that. So if you can't do a 20-minute show a week where you're just pontificating about whatever in your phone and releasing it for you and your brother listening to, then you're never going to actually take this seriously.
True.
And anything you do start, you're going to hate anyway. So just start the process. Get used to the idea of talk. I tell people I think it's better to be a 30-minute show to start because I'd rather you add time than 6 months from now realizing you're having a hard time filling an hour or 45 minutes or 2 hours, whatever it is, and then you start shortening it. That's going to piss off the few people that actually do listen to you. So it's better to always say, oh, I'm so good at 30 minutes now, we're going to go to 45 or whatever it is, 20 minutes. There's no specific time, although the most listened to podcast is about a 40-minute length.
Is that right?
Because of commutes. So people listen. The most common commute time is 40 minutes, so it just stands to reason that they coincide with each other.
Yeah, it's like with the Joe Rogan thing, I will listen in sections.
In segments. The funny thing about that, and I'm going to get a little technical now, and I apologize.
No, we want that.
So what quantifies a listener is a big question, right? Okay. How long do they, like if I just hit play 200 times, was that 200 listens? It's not, right? And there's about how there's a quantification. Did
you just say it's retention?
I said audience retention.
Yeah.
That's the
fuck.
Right, no, but anyway, there's a IAB.
Semen retention is what qualifies a listener, really.
There's an IAB standard.
Practice or not.
Something that's it's the Interactive Advertising Bureau that quantifies what actually counts as a listen, right? And they just changed it recently. They're probably going to change it again. But the truth is that
how long is it?
It's about, I think there's a couple of factors that rely on it. So it's got to be if it's from the same IP address, if it's within the same 24 hours, it doesn't count as additional listen or something like that. Like I figure they changed it recently, so I'm not exactly sure, but. To me, there's a lot of flaws with it also because if you and I live in the same house and have the same IP address, so I listen to it and you listen to it off 2 different computers, it's going to come up as one listen, or if I listen at work and then bring it home and give it to someone else, but it's on my phone or they download it, if someone puts it somewhere and downloads it and shares it with 100 friends, it still only counts as one listen. There's a lot of weird errors, but versus how many people actually listen to a radio station, they have no fucking idea. How many people see an ad in a magazine, they have no idea.
Yeah.
This is far closer to an actual metric, right? So I like that. But the reason why Joe Rogan, Ari Shaffir, and a lot of these other comics are early adopters to podcasting is so long, like 3 hours, is that they saw in the beginning, the longer my podcast is, the more listens I get. So they thought, oh, I need to make it longer. But what it was, the standard at the time was if the same person listened to one episode in 20 segments, it counted as 20 listens.
Wow.
So they've changed that now, but it's too late for them, so they keep going where they're going because you can't shorten it. It would be weird. I don't know if that's the reason why it's still at that length, but that's certainly the reason why they started to go longer in the beginning because they saw the longer episodes would get more listens, but it wasn't more listens. It was that the metric was flawed.
Interesting.
that too technical, or you followed that?
No, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's like, how many episodes a week do you guys do?
Me,
Sex, drugs, and rock and
S.D.R.
roll?
is just one episode a week.
One episode a week.
And it's hard enough
how
to
long
book.
is it?
An hour.
An hour. Oh,
and
right.
I'm somewhat, because I come from radio. You know, I had a show that was on 100 stations. And
what's it called?
It was called The Tour Bus. Yeah, and I did that for most of my adult life, and on from Maine out to Hawaii. I started it, the biggest independently owned rock radio show ever. We never got Clear Channel or one of the other companies. I never wanted to do that. I programmed it myself, chose the music, picked the bands, interviewed whoever I wanted. Very unique animal. To do that most of my adult life, I was blessed to have that ability.
An early podcast.
Sort of, yeah, but it was on terrestrial radio. It was on regular radio.
Oh, okay.
And it was all over the country. It was on, and the height, it was 97 stations, but radio just started to die. Incredible. And I just realized that, nobody gives a shit about radio anymore. And it was evident by...
You think that it still matters?
No, radio, I don't think so. I think it matters to the wrong people. Like, I think record labels think it matters because they're all run by people that have not adopted. But radio doesn't matter. It does not matter. YouTube matters. Anything you can do virally, be it an Instagram or some fucking TikTok thing right now, that matters. Getting played on radio, you're not going to make a hit for yourself. Getting played on radio, it doesn't matter anymore.
Not even the big channels?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't think so. You're better to have if you're saying, let's say a song on Z100 reaches in New York City. I'm sure their metric is idiotically flawed, but let's say it's 6 million people they say they reach, which I doubt is true. I'd rather you have 6 million listens on a YouTube video.
Right.
If you're comparing the metrics to be equal, that means a lot more than what they say they reach. So it's all about, quantifying equal, like kind.
Yeah.
If the like kind metric, YouTube is far more valuable to you. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get more people in seats from, if your podcast grows to 6 million that they say they reach, you're going to get far more people following you around town, buying your album, showing up at shows than they ever would because you got played at a fucking radio station that's just played ancillarily in the background. Nobody seeks out radio. They seek out a podcast. They're an active listener. They downloaded podcast app. They looked up Joseph Arthur. They hit subscribe and play. They did 5 steps to get to you versus a passive listener where it's just on in the car.
Right.
It means nothing.
Right.
The quality of your listener is 100-fold.
How'd you get into radio in the first place?
Hilariously, I was a strip club DJ for a very long time.
Man, I can see that.
Yeah, I did it for a very long time. And was
candy to the
all that stupid shit. Everyone has to do that. I just fucking don't do it anymore. But it's like someone asking you to sing your hit or whatever. They're like, fuck you.
I picture you in the sun, wondering what went wrong. See, I'll do it.
You'll do, I'll play along. Here's the thing: you're only doing it because you wanted to prove a point. If a guy asked you to do it, you probably wouldn't do it.
Maybe not.
So
candy to the tequila stage.
Tequila stage.
I suck.
Yeah,
okay.
You do. You're terrible at it.
All right. Go ahead. You started there.
Yeah, and I was very good at it. I did it way too long because it was good money and it was spoon-fed vagina. So it was hard to say no to it.
That's rough.
It was 15 years, but it was
wow.
Like I was, but I did other
stories
things.
You could tell.
Oh, so many. Yes, I could tell you a couple of great ones. But
wow, go for it.
My favorite one.
We are on a podcast.
So this was the catalyst.
Our listeners downloaded the app, found the podcast.
No, they don't want to hear
They're
stories.
listening.
They deserve at least one of these
stories. So I did it for 15 years, and I got to the hilarious level of being considered one of the best strip club DJs in the country, which is, who gives a fuck about that? It means nothing, right? But they would fly me around the country to train DJs to be better, because when I worked, the club would make 30 to 40% more money. So
and
they want me
with
there.
Charity that way too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The girl charity, right? The dancer.
Oh, okay.
That was a little flip of the word, but yes, I work for a couple of cancer charities, and I always give back half the money because I don't want to. I feel weird taking money from a charity.
That's nice.
But so one of the things that you do when you show up is you walk into the dressing room and you make a list of all the girls that are there, so you know how to prepare rotation of who's going up on stage first, second, third, whatever, right? And they have in the back room what they call a house mom, which is like the den mother of the girls to make sure no one steals shit.
The madam.
The madam, if you will.
Ish.
Yes, exactly. And I walk in the back room, and there are these 2 girls fucking screaming at each other, and the house mom trying to separate them. And it's also surreal because everyone's half naked. It's bizarre, right? And I pieced together that the Russian girl was accusing the Puerto Rican girl of stealing $300, right? So they're checking her bag, they're checking her G-string, her locker, and they can't find it. But the Russian girl had been there for like a year. The Puerto Rican girl was her first day, right? So they were inclined to believe the Russian girl. And then the house mom, who was a former dancer herself, but was like 65 now, says to the Puerto Rican girl, I'm pretty sure I know where you have it. The Puerto Rican girl pulls down her G-string and goes, go ahead and check me. Then the house mom puts her hand up her vagina and pulls out $300. Right? And then,
oh my God.
And the Russian girl takes the money off the floor and just puts it in her purse.
Wow.
So that whole surreal scene, I went in and I wrote the first 20 pages of my book about being a strip club DJ that I got a deal for. And then this fucking dumb book publicist wasn't happy with the offer and held out for more. And then we lost the deal and it never came out.
Damn.
But, yeah, that was the catalyst for it. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
That's incredible. Well, it's never too late to make that book.
Yeah, but it's a little like most of my stories were 90s related because I've been out of that business now for 12 years, 13 years. So it feels, I've read it through not that long ago, and it's like it would need a real punch up because it feels like a moment unless you rewrite it to be like a moment in time.
Yeah, it's a period piece,
so to speak. Which thank God it wasn't a period piece when they took out the money. Hi-oh!
But he's quick.
He's been doing this a while, bro. We're sitting here with a professional.
Right.
All right, that's why we brought him on to teach us.
So
this is a free lesson, basically.
So I was doing radio. I was doing the strip club, right? And I had left the city because city hours were killing me. You work till 5 a.m. and I decided to go to some club in Jersey that closed at 2, and I'd be home by 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
right?
there are more bonkers out in Jersey, aren't
Yeah,
they?
but it wasn't new. It wasn't topless. It was a go-go club.
Yeah,
it was a little cleaner, but also there was a descension into madness of like when I first started, there was no touching. The VIP room was behind a rope. Right. So there was no like I've been into a strip club in the past couple of years. There's a fucking condom dispenser in the bathroom.
Right.
You know, it just descended into once one club was like, well, we're gonna let the girls give hand jobs in the back to get more customers. Then the next club was like, well, we're gonna let them give blowjobs. Well, we're gonna let them fuck. And now it's a shit show. Yeah. When I was doing it, there was no touching whatsoever. Right. The allure is what made it cool. Right. Once you have sex with the girl, then your desire to, it changed that dynamic. When every girl's attainable as a strip club customer, it changes the dynamic. But anyway.
Did you ever work at Scores?
Yeah, I was one of the first DJs at Scores when it was on 60th Street.
Was it really it was like hyped up?
It was crazy. Yeah, but Pure Platinum was the #1 club. I worked at Stringfellows Pure Platinum, and that was making more money than any club of any kind in the world at the time. Sold more alcohol, was making I think it was almost, at the time, which we're going back 93, I think it was doing $500,000 a week in sales of just like alcohol, not including anything else. It was crazy. It was nuts and celebrities were going in every week. It was a crazy time. But
did you get fucked up when you were doing
I never did drugs.
You didn't do drugs?
Nothing. No,
you
never.
Didn't touch coke?
I would get it, say thank you, and then give it to someone else.
Wow.
Same thing. I was a DJ at Limelight, which was like the biggest rock club ever, and was a promoter there.
That saved your ass that you never got
I never
into
did.
that
And the same thing
too.
would happen there. Bands would give me drugs. And, thank you, dude. And then just give it to someone else. I just never did anything. That's why I do on S.D.R, not to get off on a tangent, but I try a drug once a year.
Oh, right. He does a drug. You tried cocaine
I've
on
tried.
your show.
I did an edible.
Yeah.
I did mushrooms. I did Molly, which turned out to be crystal meth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we did Molly, and then I did cocaine. So I did 5 drugs in 5 years.
And what was
I hated everything.
I
hated everything.
You hated it?
Well, I hated everything.
Mushrooms, too.
Did
you do a heroic dose of mushrooms?
No, I did like a regular dose. Like whatever a dose for my body weight.
You tripped then.
Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah.
But that's like a 6-hour thing.
That's the problem. I don't want anything to last 6 hours.
Were you on air for 6 hours?
No, we did it. We took it like 10 minutes before the show started. We did it. If a drug takes a while to kick in, like Coke is instantaneous, so we did it on the show.
It is?
It's all new to me. It's all new. But the other stuff we took like 20 minutes before the show started. So it would kick in while we were recording.
So what was that like?
The Molly episode.
Mushrooms, you might have got emotional.
Yeah, I know for the edibles I blacked out.
With the mushrooms, you're probably I think I bit off more than I can chew.
The mushrooms, the edible
Yeah.
Had a mic stand that was like a regular table mic stand, and it was the only thing that held my face up.
Right.
Like I went like this and zonked out, and then the microphone held my face up. The mushrooms, I was drooling. Right. I don't know what actually was. We weren't videotaping at that time, but I was drooling.
What was going on emotionally with the mushrooms?
I don't really remember it too much. I just remember thinking the TV was talking to me,
right?
And I had the girl I was dating there to like help calm me, so she was like massaging me, and it felt fine. I just don't like 6-7 hours. It's just too fucking long,
right?
I hated that. The crystal meth, I was up for 3 days.
That
was fucking horrible. The Molly was the one I could say, oh, I get this. I could see this could be a thing.
Yeah.
But again, it lasted too fucking long to me. And I don't want, and I know for me, 1 or 2 drinks, I'm in a place that I'm happy. Yeah. And I still only drink maybe once or twice a week. And that's at most, and I'll have 2 drinks and I'm fine. I
wish I was like that.
Yeah, I just am super OCD with all shit like that. But anyway, to get back, just to put a button on the first story.
Right.
So I was working at a strip club in Jersey, and I hear this guy work the 12 to 7 shift. So it was 12 to 7, 7 to 2. And he had a great voice, but I could just tell, being in the strip club business for a long time, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing, but he had a great voice. And I started talking to him about where you're coming from, blah, blah, blah. And he was a radio DJ that was trying to make a little extra money on the weekends. So I said, dude, I'll make you a deal. I'll teach you everything you need to know about this. Get me a meeting with someone in the radio station.
Right.
So it was a station up in Sussex, New Jersey, somewhere like middle New Jersey. And it was like an hour and a half from my house. I went there, and he said, you can come by and train with the midnight guy. He works midnight to, the guy that ends at midnight, from 11 to midnight, come every night for a week, which is like, fuck you, I'm an hour and a half away, but okay, I want to do this. So come work 11 at midnight with him, and if it goes well, we'll give you an overnight shift here or there, right? So I go there, and the guy that's working till midnight is just fighting with his girlfriend off air on the in-studio phone. Before we had cell phones, really. We kind of had cell phones, but not really. And he's screaming at it, like, you fucking bitch. And then he'd hang up the phone and go, all right, you're listening to WNNJ, Sussex, New Jersey. Like, I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And he's making me just sit in the corner and not training me at all.
Right.
And I'm just sitting there like an idiot.
Just watching
him. And then the overnight guy is supposed to show up at 1:45 to midnight and did not show up. And his last break was at 22. And he just looked at me and he's, you know what, dude? Good luck. And he just left me there with no training. But I had done, because I was a strip club DJ, I understood basic board work and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I just said, all right, fine. I did midnight to 7. And then the program director came in at 7 in the morning and goes, what the fuck are you doing here? I told him the story. He goes, well, I guess you got a job. And that's how I started in radio.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then 6 months, not even 6 months. I started in November. So 4 months. By January, I got my own show doing 80s rock songs, like, because I was, at the time, we're talking 1998, 80s rock was not played on radio. Yeah. But I played at the strip club, put on a Guns N' Roses song or a Van Halen song, the place would go crazy, but rock radio was doing only classic rock, which now it's considered classic rock, but then it wasn't, so you wouldn't hear any of that. But I could say, people were going nuts for this shit. You need to play this on the radio. Yeah. So he said, you can have your own 2-hour show, but you need to find somebody to do it with you, because you've been doing radio for 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. So I pitched the idea to the guy that helped me get a job. And then in January of 99, we launched the tour bus, and it became the #1 show on that station. Then we moved to the #1 station in Jersey called WDHA. And within a year from me never doing radio, I had a radio show that was on about 10 stations and grew to 100 stations.
Wow.
Crazy. It was really crazy.
Incredible.
But there's so many, like, I could go on for hours. Yeah. Crazy things that happened that I can't believe we were able to make happen to get to that point. So,
like what?
For instance,
sounds like right place and the right time.
Yes and no, but it's also about making your own fucking things happen.
Make your own luck.
So a lot of people would have shit their pants when they said, "Go ahead, good luck, go do it yourself." They'd say, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, right? But so we signed with this syndication company. Well, go back one. At NNJ, the ratings come out 4 times a year. And the program director says to me, the book came out, man, you guys nothing really changed, but you can keep doing the show if you want, but, there was no change in the ratings. I was like, well, that's fucking weird, because we went from no phone calls to like 50, 100 phone calls throughout the night. I've run into people that tell me they listen. I can't believe this to be true. Right. And then a friend of mine, because at the time, and still this way, radio stations are clustered. There's like 6 or 7. There's a country station, a rock station, all in one building, right? And the country guy was a friend of mine, and he knew the password to the computer in the office. And he goes, I don't believe that. And he printed them out And we went from last place to first place. And we quadrupled our TSL, time spent listening. And the guy just didn't want us to leave. So he fucking lied and didn't want to pay us. So we moved to the biggest station in Jersey. So I was like, fuck you guys. We took the ratings and said, look what we did in one book. We can do this here. And it happened again there. And then I just looked around the office for discarded syndicated radio things. And I just mocked it and sent our show out to syndication companies and got a deal. And then they signed us, and 6 months into that, we weren't on a single other channel. We were syndicatable, but we weren't syndicated. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I did my show on Saturday nights. Right after the show, I drove to Miami with my partner. On the way down, just turning the radio station dial. If they played anything that fit for what we did, I wrote down the call letters and the town we were in. And then when I got to Miami, I made 100 phone calls, set up 20 meetings, came back with 11 stations, and then got back before the next show on that Saturday. And I called the syndication company and said, how did I get 11 stations in a week and you guys got nothing for 6 months? So we quit them, and I just started syndicating the show myself.
So where did you get this, I don't know,
that's next
volition?
level.
Where'd you get this, like... I don't know.
Drive or
drive, I guess. Like, or is this coming from a parent or like?
Well, what's funny is I had an interesting upbringing in that my parents got divorced when I was 4.5, something like that, and my father was went on to be worth a crazy amount of money.
Right,
like, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Right?
Is that all?
Yeah, and my mom had pretty much nothing, and I would live with my mom Monday through Friday, and then be flown somewhere or go to some.
What did your dad do?
Real estate.
Okay.
But that dichotomy made me realize of how different people treat you when you have money, which I fucking hated. Like my dad got me a car when I graduated, was graduating high school. I wouldn't take it to high school. I didn't want anyone to know that I had money. It's like, I didn't have money. My dad had money. But I didn't want people to know that. That it came from money. And still to this day, the perception is that, my dad left me everything, and I got nothing. He left everything to his wife, right? And
whose perception is that?
The people think that because the network was started by me, that it was self-funded, but it was from money that I made. Right. It wasn't from my dad here's $20 million, good luck to you, you know? But I think that seeing all the greatness, and he was good to me in a lot of ways. He paid for my college. Yeah. He helped me out throughout life here and there. I wasn't going to go starving.
Right.
But it just made me have a drive more, I think. Although my twin brother doesn't have that same drive. He's much more content. And it's just how you're wired. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Having I get antsy if I'm not doing something constantly.
Yeah.
The whole studios that we have, the first studios was in my house. I didn't know how to do anything. I never built a computer before, but I was like, we can save 40% if we build a computer. All right. I watched some videos and built the computer. Right. I made the table. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Just figure it out. Worst thing that happens, you fuck up and you start over. And it happened 3 times when I was building the computer that I realized, I fucked something up. I had to disassemble everything and redo it again.
Building the computer? I've never even heard anybody say that.
Yeah, I saved so much money. Yeah.
Yeah, build your own.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. I went to the Mac store. That's me building a computer every time,
and all that without a manager. It was all
that's the other thing. I try to. I've never, and I think that, and I've made this mistake so many fucking times. Which is, I go for instance with S.D.R. It's the S.D.R. show. I don't market myself. I've always been dumb that way. I did it with the tour bus and radio show when I was running rock clubs. It was called Monkey Business, and never marketed myself for whatever reason. I think it's just that I hate going on Instagram and all that. I just hate doing that. I don't like to be front facing, but I do like this.
Yeah.
And I love to bullshit. I love to talk and.
Well, this is a form of marketing yourself anyway.
True, but it's never been my name first. It's always been the show first.
Yeah.
And I think that that's been a mistake of mine my whole life, is that I should have promoted myself more.
You're still a spring chicken, bro.
We're both. Well, what am I, a year older than you?
I guess.
I'm going to be 50 on New Year's Eve.
I'm 48.
Did you tell your producer about how I humiliated you in my studio?
Man.
No.
I was injured.
Do tell.
We arm wrestled.
He
won.
Really?
But left and right. Left and right. Because we're both 6'5".
I know. I just thought I would just tear him up.
Yeah, he showed me his abs. And he said he's stronger than me.
I am stronger than you.
He looks heavier. Built.
I'm bigger. I'm just girthier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I want to. We got to go again. We got to go again.
It was like this, by the way. Boink. Okay, let's do the other one.
Let's
Boink.
do it again.
This table's going to fall over. You don't want to do it on this table.
One time.
You want to do it on this table. And if
let's do it one time.
If it falls over, it's not my fault.
Watch out for the.
Now hold on. This time we got to do it like
right-handed.
Right-handed, and make sure. See, you're where you're
Are we not straight? Look at
this. Is
how
Yeah.
Is that good?
Hold on.
Joe, he's just bigger.
Hey, don't put that psychology in me.
Are you ready?
Hold on, I'm not ready. 1, 2, 3. Oh!
I think I counted. I don't want to break this table.
Oh my God.
Wow.
All right. Fuck.
For those listening,
Ralph destroyed me at arm wrestling.
And that's my right hand. I'm a left-handed.
Okay, do you have to rub it in?
I'm just telling you, like, look, but
Jesus
let me say this though. He was the one that
like-
said he's stronger than me when we started this. On
I
my other
still
show.
think I'm stronger than you.
Well, based on that metric, I think you're wrong.
Based on that metric, I'm wrong.
I think you're
Okay.
definitely a better cardio strength than me. You know, I think that you're in better shape than me.
Let's plank.
I don't think I'd win that.
You would not.
No, I don't think I'd win. Again, that's more cardio strength, core strength.
That's core strength.
Yeah, and cardio. I think it's both. It's but
Fuck. How do you get better at arm wrestling?
I don't know. I just know that
I
I'm
don't
a
like-
bigger dude. I don't know what to say. I'm sure. Like also,
hurts.
I'm sure I could bench press more than you, but that doesn't mean anything.
Do you lift weights?
I work out, but I just when my dad died like 3 years ago,
Sorry.
and it's gonna happen to all of us. So I appreciate it though.
Yeah.
But I got into a depression. I gained like 50 pounds, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm still now trying to lose it. I'm in the worst, not now the worst shape of my life, but I went on to. I should be like 240. That's like
Right.
my comfortable weight.
Yeah.
I went to 296, and now I'm like 270.
Oh, you're too. See, I'm like 170.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
You weigh
I'm just
100 pounds
I'm
more
bigger
than
than
me.
you. That's what I said.
I see. In my head, I'm as big as you.
Yeah, well, yes, that's a bad place to be. It's
That
not
means
true.
I'm delusional.
You're very delusional. Yeah.
Wow.
You need to work
Okay,
on your
I feel
self-awareness.
a little better that you weigh at least a whole 100 pounds
Yeah,
more. Than
if
me.
I used to be your weight, but I looked anorexic, you know, because we have different frames. I'm
Yeah.
wider,
Yeah.
So it just it's what it is. But we
That's
both are
interesting.
15s, which is
Yeah,
surprising.
That's right. Size 15.
Yeah. I also, by the way, I have a twin brother, and he is 5'7".
Oh,
we look
really?
nothing alike.
That's
I was born New Year's Eve. He was born January 1st.
Yeah.
So twins born in different years, but because I was born in 69, we're twins born in different decades. Really weird. Never happened before.
So when you started the podcast, was like Mark Maron of influence on you in that way?
I had never listened to podcasts.
I was into Mark Maron.
I really wasn't. So what happened was
Everyone was from.
Yeah, I went on that.
I never got into. You did? Really?
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
went on it. Yeah, he interviewed me. He's a cool
That's
dude.
he's a very cool dude. I mean,
I like him a lot.
Him and Joe Rogan in the.
I love Joe Rogan too.
Yeah, I would love to be on that show one day. That's my
And
goal.
Joe Rogan's been in your
He's
studio.
been in my. He rented my studios.
Well, how did that happen?
It's all ancestral in a bit way that a lot of the comics on my show have done on my network have done his show, and then my business partner, not my co-host of S.D.R, but my co-host been on 2 or 3 times. Joe Big Joe Okerson, right?
Oh, right. I've seen him on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he's done Joe Rogan 2 or 3 times, but then so has Dave Smith, and so has Louis Gomez. So Louis J. Gomez, he likes his middle initial. Them 3 have a podcast together called Legion of Skanks. That's also on the network.
Oh, I've seen.
and they've done that twice.
I've seen them on.
Right. So
Yeah.
through all that, there's a relationship with Joe and my business partner Louis. When he was in town for UFC to host an event, he needed a place to interview with Artie Lang, and he just asked if we could use our studios.
Yeah,
And that's how
cool.
they came about. So
Did you meet Joe?
yeah, I met him. I've met him once before in L.A., but you know, he's definitely the gold standard.
He's so good at it.
He's very good at it, but the truth is that he also got into it extremely early.
Right.
Whereas now, if he started today,
Yeah.
he would just be a great podcast that no one really listens to because there's a million podcasts.
Do you think it's possible for podcasts to rise up out
Oh,
of
sure.
the muck
Yeah,
now?
of course.
How would you recommend, like, for instance, us doing that?
Well, I think that
and do you think we're doing a decent job?
yeah, I've watched a couple of shows. I really like the Jeffrey Gaines one because I'm a big fan of Jeffrey.
That's cool. That
Yeah.
was kind of a wacky one.
Yeah, he's wacky. I like him.
He's
Yeah,
I
and
like
also,
him a lot, too.
you interviewed William from Alice in Chains the same day I did.
Yeah.
And it was cool to watch that one.
Right.
And then I watched one other. I watched 3 of them. I forgot. The other one was an old English actor dude. I forgot his name. Oh, I forgot his name. Right
Michael DeBar?
Yes. Yeah. All 3 of those I watched. I think you have a good format here. The key is this. What I like about you, before I even get into it, because you're a musician that is a respected musician, you're going to come at it from an angle that I would never come at.
Right. We're different, yeah.
So that alone is unique. It's a great thing. Similar a little bit to the show on my network with the singer of Hatebreed. His name is Jamie Josta. And then the singer-guitarist of Machine Head. They both have shows on my network.
Okay.
But Josta more, because Machine Head is more, they're talking about their tour. They're talking about their inner band conflicts. And they bring on roadies to resolve differences on the air, which is funny.
Yeah.
But Josta interviews other musicians. So having a musician interview a musician is just going to be a different interview. And that's what I liked about especially the Gaines and the Duvall one, is that you came into it from a different angle than I would. And that I like a lot. I think that you also sent me the clip the 1 minute clip
Panther.
that I never saw you do that before on your own Instagram, unless I missed it.
Yeah, we do that every episode. Ehud does those.
Right, so you should always do that. Two of those a week. You should put a YouTube clip out every week, and then that concept of ABP, always be promoting. You know, for a long time, I'm out of them right now, but I'm going to reprint them. I never left my house without stickers. All right, I would consider put them up at least 2 or 3 places every week.
That's a good
or every day. And then I don't do this again as much now either, because once you get a certain metric, you get a little lazy.
Yeah.
But I used to consider my day a failure if I didn't get at least 10 new people to subscribe to my show just based on walking around the city.
Wow.
So the story that I've told a million times is I did jury duty. I got stuck to jury duty, and I got 11 other people to sign up to my podcast. What are we doing? We're here talking for an hour. All of you should just subscribe to my podcast. And that concept of always be promoting is essential if you want to differentiate yourself from a landscape that is increasing exponentially. The only way to differentiate yourself, besides putting out quality content. Look, from a musician point of view, you could put out the best record in the world. Doesn't mean it's going to find a home unless you're out there fucking letting people know constantly. And everybody is one fucking good clip away from going viral.
It's interesting that you say that, because I think like a lot of people like sleep on what you're talking about, just that like really just straight up like human interaction one-on-one, like you said, leaving the house, getting 10 people. That escaped me, and now I'm gonna like take that and run with it, because it's true. Like, because you're on this internet and we're so hyped up on the internet, and that's how everything happens, you can kind of like sleep on the fact that just one-on-one real life human interaction is still a thing.
And I'll give you a great metric for that, or comparison for that. We have a show on the network. We used to have 2, but now just 1, of Instagram famous people.
Right.
One has 2 million listeners, 2 million Instagrammers, and one had like 1.2. And I'm like, what? If we get fucking 5% of their audience, we're going to be killing it out of the gate with these guys. You know, you with 20,000, 30,000 listeners, you can make money. You know, once you get over 15, 20,000, you can make money. And although I think you can make money with less. I was making money with 800 listeners when we started, right? But neither one of them have lit the town on fire. They're getting less than 1%. One of them we had a drop. And the reason is that people don't really jump platforms that much.
Right.
So your Instagrammer wants to stay on Instagram. Your YouTuber wants to stay on YouTube. To get them to say, oh, no, now you have to close the YouTube app and start listening to my podcast, it's not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, it does, but a far more lower metric than doing what you did, like coming on another podcast or getting other people on your podcast that are going to tweet out and promote it to other podcasters. That's why, like, when there's a show on my network that whenever they do Joe Rogan, their podcast numbers double or triple or quadruple because every one of those people are podcast listeners. So you want to reach more than anything else. Yeah, you want to build everything, but you want to reach podcast listeners more than anything else. How else do you do that? By going on other podcasts. That's the best way to do it.
How do you go about finding sponsors and whatnot?
So for me, when we started,
is something we're looking for.
When we started S.D.R, I think we had like 800 or 1,000 listeners per episode, which is, you know, again, the average podcast has less than 200 listeners. So if you have more than that, congratulations, you're in the top 10% of podcasting, right? There's 1 million podcasts. You get rid of 900,000. Now you're in the loop of the lump of 100,000 podcasts because you have more than 200 listeners per episode.
We're at a little over 500.
Okay, so you're still in that. To get to the top 5%, then you're in the. You have to have 10,000 listeners. And then to get in top 2%, it's like 50,000. And that top 1% is when you get into the Joe Rogan worlds and whatnot. But even keep in mind, 1% of 1 million is still a lot of fucking podcasts. You know? But anyway, I just did a very logical thing for my show, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. I went to some fucking local strip clubs and said, look, we're getting 1,000 listeners in New Jersey. You should sponsor our show. And it was like just give me $100 a month just to pay for my hosting and some beer money. What do I fucking care? And that's how we got our first sponsor, just cover the bills. And that's, instead of looking to sign some $10,000 a month deal, just get something. Then you could also do
And then what would you do? Like promote the club?
Yeah, you promote. I promoted the club. We did we brought girls in and we did a stupid shit with them. But like you guys, obviously, a musician. There's many areas in that world. This venue might be a great way that you. I don't know if you do it here regularly, it could become a thing. Where that you say you promote the venue. There's so many ways for the lowest hanging fruit. Where you just don't try and light the world on fire. Just get something. And then once you get something, then it starts to become easier. You get 2 or 3 baby deals, and now you're paying you're paying a salary to each person, not a crazy, enough to just cover the bills. And then when you get to that next metric of 5,000 or whatever, you tell these people it's time to renegotiate. We're at a new level now. And then the 20,000 is what most of the ad sales companies look at. But I think if you have 10,000, you can make money. That metric of the CPM rate, which is cost per thousand and being the Roman numeral for 1,000, is generally $18 to $20.
Yeah.
So every 1,000 listeners is about, let's just say for easy math, $20. Yeah. So if you have 10,000 listeners, a $200 ad for basics. Of course, you being again, to keep focusing on the fact that you are an artist who has a core fan base, by going after people that are within that wheelhouse, you can probably command a higher CPM rate for that reason. Just like when Josta, we have headphones. They want Josta to talk about the headphones. They want Michael Bisping, former middleweight champion of the UFC, to talk about a weight loss regimen or something like that, or the Peloton or whatever the fuck it is, because it's so on brand. So that when you get an on brand sponsor is going to be far more money than getting stamps.com. Because there's a disconnect. Not saying you still can't get money from them and you still can't get them to come on board, but an on-brand sponsor is going to be worth more money for them, and more money for you.
Yeah.
And then also, we work really diligently with the sponsor to make sure that they're happy.
Right.
And we do constant check-ins. We send them the clips. We do extra content on Instagram. We do things to make them feel like, holy shit, did we get a value? Did we get something out of this? So you want people to come back. Most of our sponsors have been on for a couple of years, and then they're seeing a 7 to 10 time ROI, return on their spend, So they're getting, if they spend $1,000 and they did $10,000 a month in ad sales, in sales from our discount code, why would they not stay on?
Right.
So it's all about starting incrementally. Everybody, again, just like you said before about starting a podcast.
Everybody wants they want to go viral out the gate. And if they don't, they're like, oh, fuck it, it didn't happen.
If you're getting into it for that reason, then you should get the fuck out of this business. It's the wrong business.
It's a long run. Let me ask you a personal question. Did your dad see your success and did he value it? Or
it's funny.
Was there tension there?
No. I mean, we had a good relationship, but it's a depressing story, but I'll tell you this: it's fine. I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean, look, people die. It's sad, whatever. Yeah. But he was like in a hospice, and it was like this 3 years ago now. The network only started 3.5 years ago, and I remember at the time I told him, Dad, we just did a $20,000 sale for the month of whatever month it was, and he's like
$20,000,
like an ad sale, like some buy. I don't remember what it was exactly, and he was like, really? Like he was so happy about that because my dad was hyper focused on money.
Right.
And to hear that, I could see it in his eyes, even though he was kind of out of it at that point. Yeah. He was like really happy. Yeah. And I still now, his brother, my uncle, they were business partners. I'm still close to him, and he calls me every week to want to know the lowdown of where we're at, and because they don't understand. Like even my dad didn't know what a podcast was. Radio, he could turn it on and listen. He understood when I was on radio, but a podcast just didn't make sense to him, But that was a nice moment that I got to have that.
That's nice.
Before he passed. Maybe
that is nice.
Maybe it was literally like a week before he passed or 2 weeks before he passed.
That's cool. That's a sad story.
Yeah, but it's a nice story in a way. You got to hear it.
When did you decide to make the leap to like bring in other podcasts to your network and go from just being like your own podcast to like being a network?
Well, what's funny is that I looked at it as a logical extension of what I was doing in radio. Radio, I'm on 100 small stations. Right. You collectively had, at the time, I think we had at our height 500,000 listeners a week. Yeah. But each station on their own was, I don't mean to be mean, but they were like shitty little stations. A station with 5,000 listeners, 10,000 listeners is not a great station. It's in the middle of fucking Snohomish, Washington. Right. Who gives a shit? Yeah. But when I say, no, you don't understand, this ad is on all of these stations at once. You're getting nationwide coverage, so it commanded more money. Then you can make money in syndication, right? That although if you're going to get in radio now, if you're not on in New York, LA, or Chicago, or Miami or Philly, whatever, you're not going to make money. There's no money. But if you get a few hundred stations together, you can make some money. So the thought was, well, I already have the equipment. I already have my studio in my house, and I'm already doing S.D.R. there. And at the time, we had, I think, 5,000 listeners, right? So I said, well, if I could get 4 or 5 other shows with 5,000 listeners, then I have 25,000 listeners. We have that golden metric of 20,000 or more. I could go after sponsors. I could go after starting to make money. And we started with 4 shows. I think I was thinking it was 10,000 listeners a week.
Where'd you get the shows?
So I and Lewis, my business partner, we would always swap ideas, right? And the original plan was we were going to open up a comedy club, but it was going to be a podcast comedy club. We were going to call it The Pod.
That's a good idea.
And it was where every podcast would be live, but the stage would be like in the round. So there'd be, you go to watch a podcast live, but also we would do comedy. But the rents in New York are fucking insane, especially if you want to sell alcohol, and just the money, the numbers never worked out. I couldn't do it. But the concept of us working together, it's like, well, we should maybe do half of this, which is let's just start a podcast network. And the idea was, well, there's no rent. I already have the equipment. You're just going to use my studio. What's the fucking difference? It cost us nothing. So we started with those 4 shows. And in the beginning, it was 3 shows on Monday, 1 show on Wednesday. So it was like a day that was bad for me in my apartment.
Right.
Fast forward a year later, we had 12 shows. There was 50 people in my apartment every week. I was going to lose my fucking mind.
How big was your apartment?
I still have it. It's the same one. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. But
which, by the way, for those that aren't in New York City,
it's hard to find.
That's a huge apartment.
Yeah, it's funny. I dated this girl from Italy. And she was her first time in New York City. And I wanted her to know that, no, you don't understand. This is a great apartment for New York. So I purposefully met her first and said, oh, we got to go to my friend's house for a second. I got to pick something up, just so she could see what a normal person lives like.
Man, you are too much.
Yeah, you got to use your strengths when you're old.
By the way, tell these people how you find dates.
Oh, it's the worst.
This is bad.
So here it's not bad. Here's the thing.
It's actually brilliant.
Well, here's the thing.
But it's also very
Joseph
bad.
is a respected musician who can go on stage, and any girl that sees you command the room is like, I want to fuck that guy. That's what happens, right? It's the nature of being. Did you just raise your hand? Is that what happened? That's so cool. I knew that was happening. And that's what happened, right? You're like, look at this guy commanding the fucking room. I want to get a piece of that. That's what happens, right?
Dude, yeah.
When you're in your
exaggerated,
but it's close enough.
I'll go ahead. Since I lost the arm wrestling, I'll take this.
When you're in your 20s or 30s, you're young and good looking and energetic and fun.
Yeah.
You could rely on that. Right.
Yeah,
and that's enough.
Yeah.
But as you get old, you got to play to your strengths. So your strength is I'm a very talented musician. I don't have that strength. Right. If they listen to my podcast, they're not going to want to date me.
Why
right. Because it's horrible. We do horrible things on my show.
Yeah,
right. So
slightly.
The trick is for me to figure out creative ways to engage a girl that normally wouldn't be engaged by this monster that you see before you.
Come on.
We, I try and find girls creative ways. One of them is on Instagram, and I used. You talking about the NYC filter?
Yeah, this is the.
So if you search the NYC or New York hashtag, you're going to see girls that are coming to New York for the first time because they're thrilled to be in New York City, right? And you just message them, "I'm a great New York tour guide. I hope you're enjoying your first time in New York. I'm a great New York tour guide." Smiley face. 90% of them are going to just not respond. 10% will, and you'll go on a date or two here or there, and that's what'll happen. And dating girls that I normally would never date, I'll say, like, I'll take you to best sushi in New York. I'll take you to a secret bar that no one knows about, whatever the fuck it is. And that's how I meet most of the women I date these days. Those stupid little tricks. It used to be that you can't do this anymore, but on Tinder or Bumble, you could search the picture and find their Instagram, right? You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But then if you talk to them on Instagram, you're just some dude that met them on Instagram, not some creep on Tinder. Little do they know I'm a much bigger creep that I'm going that route. But that kind of shit would work for me. You have to play to your strengths.
You know what? You should write a book called A Hacker's Guide to Ecstasy. And hear all your little hacks, because you got this mind that has.
Yeah, I have to come up with creative ways to do things. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's funny, but a lot of people look at it as creepy. But you work to your strengths. My strengths are I know food in New York better than anybody. Like I love secret hidden. Tonight I'm taking a girl to an 8-seat sushi bar that's hidden in the limelight.
Wow.
Okay, so you go through
Did
the
you
restaurant.
Meet her on the hashtag NYC?
I met her on the hashtag NYC.
Unbelievable.
And she they just came
app.
in.
It should be an app.
Yeah. And it's Limelight I used to be a DJ at, so I have that whole story. The staff, there's some staff there that used to be there still from the old days, can tell some Limelight stories of when I hung out with Guns N' Roses and whatever the fuck.
I wanted to ask you that.
What about
when you said Limelight, Pearl Jam?
I was there for the Pearl Jam show.
Some stories
I lived.
You're done with this.
Yeah, but anyway, so just to wrap that up, so you go through.
We love Axl stories.
Yeah, I mean, I only met him once, but I've been. I was
Rose fans over here.
I've met Slash a few times, and everyone else in the band. I only met Axl once back then for like half a second. But in my radio days, I've never interviewed Axl. I interviewed everybody else but Axl in that band, for whatever reason. But just to again close that story. Yeah. There's a lot of like hidden little secret restaurants and bars and lounges that have great food that know me. When I walk in, they're like, "Oh, what's up? Great to see you. Here's your table." Blah blah blah. You got to play to your strengths. That's my strength. Jay, my co-host, he's a comic. He goes on stage. He kills.
He's good.
Girls are gonna want him. You go on stage. You perform. Girls are gonna want you. You got to go with what works. And maybe what works for you is that you're a painter or you're super passionate about fucking stamp collecting, whatever it is. If you have a passion, that conveys to someone that, this guy's really into this. And that is attractive. It just is.
It is attractive.
Is it not attractive? Yeah, boom. Yeah. There you go, boom.
The opposite of apathy is attractive, I guess.
So any passion anywhere is attractive, right? If a guy, especially like, and even I used to write these articles on dating for this website called Social Underground, and one of them was how do you date in a post-Me Too world? Like how do you hit on girls and stuff? And again, it's just like, just be aware, don't be an asshole, and you can still, 90% of women, and again, you can say if I'm wrong or not, would prefer a guy to say, hey, I want to take you to my favorite restaurant tonight, instead of saying, hey, well, I don't know, what do you want to do? Right? No girl wants that for the most part. Yeah. Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? That's why every romance novel since the dawn of time is a guy on the cover who's like the shades of gray idiot or whatever. They not all. I don't speak in universals, but they like a guy that has some confidence and some desire to say, oh, I want to do this with you. I want to show you. I want to take you to this. They don't want. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want that.
Right.
Indecisiveness is not attractive. So at Limelight, I was there. I missed the heyday of Limelight. We started in 88, 89. So really the heyday of Limelight Rock and Roll Church was probably 85 to 88. That's when the documentary focuses on that era. But I did get to experience it because I was a nightclub DJ first. I was a nightclub promoter for the Palladium and for MK and Mars and Club USA, like dance clubs. And then when I got around 18, 19, I started to really fall in love with rock. I started to grow my hair long. My hair was down to my ass.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I became obsessed with rock and roll and was running a rock club in Staten Island and then got hired to be the DJ / like in-house promoters for Limelight. This guy, Nicky Camp, who I'm sure you know. Do you know Nicky Camp or no?
Yeah, I think so.
Nicky was the main promoter, and we would be like a side promoter. And we DJ'd which was phenomenal. You DJ'd on the dais of the church, which is just really cool, right? And I remember a time when I was
DJing. For those
DJing.
that don't know, Limelight's a
church,
an amazing club in NYC that was a church,
and it's still open, but not as a club. And it's a as I said, a restaurant. It's also there's a gym in there and a pizza place there now. But it was insane. They got rid of that. It's just pizza place, gym, and a restaurant in the back. But there was nothing like it. It was unbelievable. Sunday nights, any rock star within 50 miles were coming there on a Sunday night because it was the place to be. Yeah. I remember DJing one night and looking out, and Lenny Kravitz and Madonna were dancing on my floor. And this was in like 90, 90, 91. Back when it was like, holy shit.
Back when that meant
something.
I was about to say that meant something.
Yeah, and it's like now, even, it's true.
It still means something now. But
especially if they were dancing together. But like even there was a time a couple of months ago where I had my phone on my table with this friend of mine, and like a couple of like 80s rock star guys happened to call me back to back just for whatever they're coming to town, whatever. And I said, well, if this was 88, I'd be the fucking coolest guy in the world right now. But now it's just kind of, that's funny that person called me. That Kip Winger called me.
I was going to say that.
Or Don Dokken or whoever the fuck it is, But in the day.
She's only 17.
That's good. Look at you knowing that. Were you a fan of that genre at all or no?
Yeah, man. I mean, that was MTV. That was classic days. Like I was like,
Winger,
teenager. Come on.
I still love all that shit. Yeah. And also
me too.
You will maybe disagree with this, but to me, maybe not the song structure, but the musicianship of those guys wasn't amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. Well, that was like part of the aesthetic too. Was like GIT guitar, like getting chops and all that.
But even the singers, the bass players, the drummers, they were all guitars. You almost kind of like. It's almost like you understand, of course, he's going to be a great guitarist, do some showy shit, whatever.
Right.
But look at the singers from back in the day nobody's having these crazy ranges anymore, like a Jeff Tate.
Right.
You know, you don't
Queensryche.
You don't hear that anymore.
Yeah. There's no one like him.
They were one of my favorites, and
Operation Mindcrime.
They like. That was like the band that I waited online to buy the record the day it came out, you know. And then when
are they still doing it?
They have
Tate's doing it separate.
They have a very tumultuous relationship now. It's really sad what's going on between them.
Yeah.
But then I became very friendly with them through my radio show, and then the rock cruise I host called Shiprock for 10 years that puts a bunch of bands on. Queensryche played when they were still together. They were on the boat, and which knowing this is just I've said this. I'm not saying anything that any of my fans don't know, but it's just a funny story to me to get closer to a band than you could ever get. Is that not only they were my favorite band, right? And then I ended up having sex with his daughter. Jeff Tate's daughter. So it just makes me feel like I have a connection with Queensryche.
Whoa. The train just went off the tracks, bro.
So to have that connection.
I was just chugging along the fucking.
I'm closer to the Queensryche than anyone else can be.
That's true.
Wow, how'd that happen?
Well, she's of age, not like she's 12.
We gathered that.
But I met her on the boat, and we just became friendly, and just kind of funny. And it just, it's his stepdaughter, but still, it's just funny to say that happened to me. That like my favorite band, like loving Led Zeppelin. At one point, I was friends with Jason Bonham, John Bonham's. It's not to have sex with him, but when it was in a car with him, and Wolfmother came on, and he goes, "Oh, this reminds me of my dad's band." Anybody else says that is like, go fuck yourself. Right. He says that, you're like, well, that's fucking cool as shit that he's talking about that. So I've just always been super passionate about music, even though I'm the worst guitarist in the world.
Are you still friends with?
No, she's married now. She has kids, whatever. But it was like 10 years ago. Like that. I don't mind.
Did you have Queensryche songs going on in your
I
head
played it back and back. While
it was happening.
Silent lucidity.
I told her I hate to break
silent lucidity.
I said I hate to break the news to you, but I'm spreading the disease.
Wait,
it's a Queensryche song.
I know. From Mindcrime.
Yeah, see,
I don't know.
I knew he would get it.
Dude, he loves Queensryche.
That album changed everything for me.
When Chris DeGarmo left, unfortunately,
I don't know what these nerds are talking about at this point. But
that's when it changed. He was great.
So what do you think the future of podcasting is going to be?
I hate to say this.
It's over.
What's going to happen, I believe, and I could be wrong.
Yeah, and this ties into the YouTube meltdown.
What's going to happen, I believe, within the next, let's say 7 to 10 years. So we got time. But the FCC will get involved with podcasting. Right. And say that it's too pervasive as a form of entertainment now, and there's too much money being made that because every year over year, the last 5 years, there's like a 300% increase in podcast advertising.
Well, there's no way to control the information, and that's what's happening now is they want to control the information.
Right, and there will be algorithms that recognize when someone has hate speech. When just that the YouTube has that now.
Hate speech is just bringing up the name Alex Jones.
Yeah, or whatever. Exactly.
You just say that name, and then it's like, oh, you're a fascist, and you're doing hate speech.
Now, it's amazing to have this open forum for everyone, which I love, but it's not going to last. It's going to go away.
It's going away right now.
Well, with YouTube, but but also I think
it's going to go away deeper.
I think podcasting. I
think you're right.
But I also
have you ever listened to David Icke?
No.
Okay, well, he's like the guy that he's got that reptilian whole theory.
There's reptile. I thought that was also Alex Jones. Believe that, doesn't he?
Well, I don't know what Alex Jones believes, but like this guy David Icke had that whole theory going on or whatever. But aside from that whole theory,
which was the concept of the movie V.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, that's really where I think they just watched it too young.
Yeah, maybe he watched it too young.
Yeah.
And whatever you think to that, that's neither here nor there. But like he talks about the internet and how it was like sort of actually kind of like some sort of CIA operation or before you go there, like it comes in, it's all free and it becomes indispensable to us, right? Like so we're like. The internet, it's indispensable as it is now. And then like the pot, like the toad in the pot's coming to a slow boil, and then suddenly it's boiling. Suddenly, like they make it completely free at first, so they suck all of us into it, and then once we're into it, they start taking the freedoms away.
I just think the reason why I don't believe that at all.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, but what I mean, like as a contrived plan.
Oh, as a plan.
Nobody saw where the internet was going to be when it started. No one is that brilliant. And also, like I was, which is a little side note here to also go off the rails. I was wanted by the FBI for computer hacking when I was 15, and I was before there was an internet. I was doing what at the time was called BBSs and getting like just doing stupid shit, and was there when the internet was only ASCII based and there was no graphics, and it was only at the time first it started government, then it went to schools where you could talk to there was a SUNY Albany internet where you could chat with other schools to like trade information and shit, and it was so pure. No one saw that even you could add, at the time I had a 300 baud modem. There was no graphics. No one knew where this was fucking going. I don't think there's anybody that brilliant. I don't think so.
Maybe not. But so you think it's going to go that way?
It's going to get governed.
You don't think that that the people will uprise and
I mean, in terms of being charged for things or being
just demand free information.
I think what's going to happen
shoot opens up, or like, is there a way they can really control?
What'll happen is this, I believe, is that the idea of iTunes or Google Podcasts, where they just carry everything from the most innocent children's podcast to the most racist, idiotic podcast that ever existed on the same platform is going to go away.
Yes,
right. There's going to be just like there's a bill to turn all porn sites soon to be .xxx, that they have to say that if they're doing any sort of porn, it's got to be .xxx. That type of regulation, I believe, will happen, and then eventually it's going to be like, well, if you curse or if you do this, then you can't be on the iTunes platform, so then you're gonna have to find other forms to release your material. You won't be able to release it everywhere, just like YouTube. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same thing.
Invade the iTunes platform.
Just like when MP3s first started. Remember Napster, where everything was just in one place and everybody had access to everything free. I found the coolest songs in the world when Napster existed that I never knew existed. To when I was doing my radio show, the tour bus, bands would come in sometimes and say to me, where the fuck did you get that version? I don't even have that version of the song, because Napster had everything. Yeah. And then it got segmented. Well, Napster got shut down. So there's LimeWire, then there's Audio Galaxy, and you got to find, there's never going to be what it is now, where there's just one depository for everything. Yeah. That's going to change, and it's going to get regulated. But I just don't know how soon it'll happen.
So is the golden era of podcast behind us?
No, we are in the heart of it right now. I think we're in the fucking heart of it.
Right.
Yeah. And back to what you were saying before, like I never thought I'd do a podcast. My co-host Jay asked me to do one on Shiprocked, and my first response was, podcasting is for people that don't do radio. I'm in radio. Like, what are you fucking talking about? And then a year later, when we did Shiprocked again the next year, I had seen and watched about how podcasting is changing the world. This is 6 years ago now. Yeah. And I was like, well, fuck it, let's do it. And he goes, well, what do we call it? And at the time, I had planned on launching a morning radio show called Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. And the idea was, I'm going to go out at night, party till 6 in the morning, and just bring who's ever left onto a radio show, and we'll talk about what happened. I think I could do it for about a year or two.
That's a good idea.
And I would get a lot of people to be like, holy shit, what lunatic is coming on the show today, Yeah. But that never happened. Once I saw that the money they were offering me, I said, I'm not going to do this. And then, but I had the graphics, I had the SDRshow.com, I had the imaging, everything ready to go. So when Jay said, well, what are we going to call it? I just sent him what looked like a beautifully finished package and just changed it to him and me as the name. And he's like, oh, good, let's do that. And that was it. And it was an easy launch.
How long ago was that?
The concept of it was about 6 years ago. And we started in a January of about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. But we recorded 12 episodes, and we didn't know what an RSS feed was, how to put a show out. We were just recording them. That I knew how to do from radio. And they were just sitting on my hard drive. And I remember it was a guy I've been friends with forever, who's actually doing my show this Wednesday, Corey Glover from Living Color.
Love him.
I know you had Vernon on.
Corey's on our list.
Yeah, Corey's great.
Vernon Reed.
I get you, Corey, anytime. He's a very good friend.
Love Corey.
But he said to me, he goes, hey, Ralph, remember that show we recorded 3 months ago? Is that ever coming out? I'm like, yeah, I probably need to figure out how to do this. And I joined the podcast subreddit and just started taking in information and figured out how to start an RSS feed, how to submit to. At the time, it was far more complicated than it is now. Yeah. Now they kind of do it for you. If you get an Anchor account or a Libsyn account, they'll do all the the back end for you. The time you had to individually submit to every single platform and wait for their acceptance.
Yeah, we're on Simplecast.
Yeah, they make it easy for you. All of them make it simple for you. At the time, 5-6 years ago, it was not like that. It was very convoluted. Now, that's why, to go back to the top of the show, just fucking start your show. It is so easy now. I think there's 3 or 4 of them that I know that are really interesting. Anchor is one of them, where it's an app that does everything for you. So you don't need to do anything. And then I'm trying to get them as a sponsor, so I'm going to mention them anyway. But Rode has called the Rodecaster, and it's a
Rode mics.
Rode mics. They have something called the Rodecaster. It's a 4-mic setup for podcasting that can take in phone calls and automatically do the mix minus.
Oh, really?
And brings in a soundboard, and you can mimic different mic sounds.
How much is that?
It's like $500-$600. And
That's
then
amazing.
It's a great unit that for traveling, it makes life so fucking easy. And I'm a big advocate of that.
Into that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Just like the Zoom. Zoom was the birth of that, which was the 4-6 mic setup. But this takes it to the next level. It's a little bit bigger, but it brings so much more to the table. And you can even edit on it.
I got a question. I want to I'm into a lot of healing things and NPD, abuse recovery things.
What's NPD mean?
It means narcissistic personality disorder.
NPD.
Abuse. NPD, yeah. So I want to do episodes based on that. Would you, if you were me, start another podcast and divert, or would you?
I would make it a special episode.
Or a special episode.
Yeah, once a month you do something or whenever. I mean, you're doing 2 a week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you did one of each, I don't like the idea so early on into your game. What are you, 60 in?
Yeah.
Right? 60 episodes in. I don't like the idea of you segmenting your blossoming audience, right? I think if you had this show up to 20,000, then the idea of starting another show makes sense. At this point, I wouldn't segment it. I would make it a once a month episode, or whatever. Or you could do one of one kind and one of the other, whatever you want to do. When I did Mark Cuban, it was just me and him for an hour, right? It was very different than what a normal SDR is,
right?
But I felt that our fans would enjoy it, and I did not want to make it something separate. It still felt like, we still asked him his firsts at the end of the show, and we still, he cursed and he said, fuck Richard Branson, which I thought was cool,
cool.
So things like that. I just don't want you, I don't think you should segment your audience just yet.
Apparently he's reptilian.
He might be, is he?
That's what I heard.
He was fucking so cool.
No, I'm not Mark Cuban. I was talking about Richard Branson.
And also Damon John came in, was super cool too. We're putting together the highlights for 2019. So at the end of every year, we do a best of the year, and looking at all the crazy shit we did this year. It always doing cocaine. We do porn things once in a while, what I call them stunt shows, and they're always the most shared things.
Like, what do you do?
Boy, she's gonna hate me more than she already does.
She probably won't.
We hired a $1,000 escort, and we hired a $100 escort. And we got blindfolded 1-minute blowjobs to see if you take out your eyes, ears, and touch and just the oral, which one you would pick.
Wow.
And we both picked the $100 girl.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. And things like that. We've done a lot of crazy shit like that.
When you do something like that, do you get backlash?
No, I mean, what the show is called Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. You know what you're in for. It's not called Ralph's Peaceful Hour of Life and Enlightenment. It's a really, if you don't.
But still, you get no backlash.
None.
Zero
backlash.
That's amazing.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
We've
done
that to the next level and hire a guy.
We did that also.
You did.
The first one we called the Orolympics. The second one we did Orolympics 2. Our interns got, one was a girl, one was a guy, and they split the city. They split it. The one picked the girl, one picked the guy. They didn't know there was, again, no hands, no eyes, no ears, and nothing. So the one picked the guy, one picked the girl. It was 50-50 split. We've done a lot of crazy things.
I can't believe. No backlash.
No, we did an episode called "Smell My Finger."
Yeah,
where 3 girls came in and played with themselves. Then we smelled it. Then we got blindfolded, and they did it again, and we had to see whoever could identify the girls based on smell alone.
Did anybody do it?
One guy got 2 right. One guy got 1 right. I got none right. My nose is not that sensitive. But we've done a lot of dumb shit. And next what I'm doing is...
Are you inspired by Howard Stern?
I hate that. I understand it. But if I was going to be a director of a movie, no one says, oh, like Quentin Tarantino. No. If I'm going to be a chef, oh, like Julia Child. But you do anything somewhat shocking in radio, and it just shows his success.
Well, I wanted to bring him up anyway before, actually, just based on the fact that, what you saying, your initial reaction to podcasts, because one thing that shocked me about Howard, and I am a big Howard Stern fan, was when his take on
he shit on podcasts
was so dumb.
Yeah, that was it. By the way,
like, because it's like, dude, it's just like he
when
went.
Did he say that?
Well, a couple years ago.
He was just like, it's not legit. This, that, and the other. And it was like really backwards.
It was the first time in my life.
Oh, he was threatened by it.
Yeah,
for sure,
I didn't
of
agree
course.
with. Like, it's weird to say to myself, because usually I'm so on with what he said. I was like, I don't agree with him.
Me too. I totally disagree.
Me too.
And I felt like he was like totally missing the boat. And I'm sure he understands that he was.
Yeah, I'm sure now. But it's funny is that he and Ari Shaffir, comic that's been on my show a few times, got into it online a little bit.
Well, I remember that.
Yeah, and Ari, this was a big boost.
Ari won.
But Ari was great. Was that week was the week Ari was on my show.
Oh, okay.
So
that's good
it just
for
worked
you.
for me because everyone was Googling it. And it set a new normal for my show's listenership.
Oh, great.
Which was great for me. That happened to me a couple times in my life where I got lucky that something happened. Like Michael Phelps, it came out that he was dating a trans woman, right? And she didn't know. Not trans, intersexed, which used to be the term hermaphrodite, but
non-binary.
No, intersex, born with both.
Oh, okay.
And now identifies woman, had the penis removed at an early age, and is now a woman. And when it came out, and now she was getting into porn. She was on my show. When it came out that she was Michael Phelps' girlfriend or ex-girlfriend at that point, boy, did everyone want to fucking search her name.
Right.
And it just wasn't done intentionally. That we just got lucky, that story broke the time that our episode came out.
Right.
So those kind of things have happened where we achieved a new normal, which was great. You know? One time on one of the dumb shows we did was called The Ultimate Whorier. Instead of The Ultimate Warrior, it was like a whore contest for girls. Like who could hold the most fake jizz in their mouth, like dumb shit like that. Right. Then it was we gave them a math question, and it was trick question because whoever got it the most wrong got the points because nobody wants a smart whore. That was the idea. Just dumb jokes like that. But we got a cease and desist letter from the WWE because so many people were sharing we used the Ultimate Warrior logo. I don't know if you know. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I know that logo. And in the eye makeup where it was like black lines, it was just people having sex. Right, like it was like an artsy kind of thing, and we got a cease and desist. We had to change the name of the show because they sent a cease and desist letter. The new one we're doing in March, I think it is. We're gonna get 5 guys of different races, and a girl is gonna perform 2 seconds of oral on each, and see if she could guess which race they are based on just the taste of their penis. And I'm calling it international street food, and I'm very proud of that.
How do you come up with your ideas?
I don't think about just the dumbest thing I could think of.
Yeah.
We did do
you meditate?
Yeah, no, I practice semen retention. Yeah. We did the ultimate batch off once to see whose jizz load weighed more, me and Jay, and it was we both had to not touch ourselves from one day, like 5 days forward, and then we pleasured ourselves into cups and weighed it on a drug scale.
Right.
And the loser, Jay, lost, he's 10 years younger than me, so I'm proud of that. He had to pour mine over his hands and do this.
Oh my God.
So stupid. But then also, look, then we also have Mark Cuban on. We have bands on. We try to have real interviews on. Like when DMC came on, he did it twice for DMC, DMC. First time was like an incredible interview about him wanting to kill himself when he was like really powerful. And then the second time he came on, I'm like, well, we can't do that again. So Jay and I did a rap battle, and it was like you have to pick which one of us is least terrible.
That's cool.
So we try to do things.
Who won?
Jay sort of won,
I guess.
But here's the story. Jay won, right?
Yeah.
I found out day of. I thought we were doing a rap battle. He was doing a battle rap. Do you follow the difference?
A battle rap.
A battle rap meaning he was going to shit on me in his rap. It was going to be like a roast battle, a roast rap. I was writing a goofy song. I wrote an actual song that was like talking about DMC, and it had a hook. It was 2 minutes long.
Right.
His was a 40-second rap that was just shitting on me. Right.
So that got the
audience. But then when I found out he was doing that day of, I wrote a battle rap. So I did my nice one first. Then Jay did his, and he said, well, Jay won, right? And I explained the story. I said, can I do my mean one now? And I did my mean one, and he said, well, if you would have done that, you would have won.
Yeah, see, this feels like to me like with the arm wrestling thing, the fact that I'm slightly injured. I feel like, you know what I mean?
You're injured,
won,
though.
But I mean,
you're only injured because I arm wrestled you 3 days ago and fucking ripped your arm out of your socket.
There's an injury going on, so I feel like. So who's your favorite podcasters current?
You know, it's weird. I don't really listen to podcasts that much.
I thought you might say that.
But what I did, which I recommend to everybody, is when you decide I'm going to start a podcast, what's it going to be about? Oh, it's going to be about music, or it's going to be about health. Whatever you're doing, there's a million podcasts. Somebody has the idea.
Somebody's done it.
Go listen to the top people in that field. So that's what I did. I listened to the best comedy and music podcasts at the time, and I was like, well, I like what this is. I don't like that. I could do that better. That's funny, but I have a way to twist that, and kind of assimilated the knowledge to create what I wanted to do, right? And also, you should never be fully happy with your show. You should be, if you're content with what you're putting out, that's a mistake. Yeah. I'm sure, again, to relate that as a musician,
of course,
you always want to be doing something better and more
100%.
creative. So you should feel that exact same way on your show. You should never rest on your laurels and always figure out a way to get better. And in the same respect, like you guys hit 500 listens, you should be fucking happy. You're only 50, 60 episodes in.
More than that.
You should be happy. You know, it's great. So
a month in, it's at 700, 800.
That's great.
Yeah.
What are our total downloads? 40,000.
Well, the only metric that matters for an advertiser is where that episode is 1 month out.
Yeah.
So the episode today, 30 days later, how many listens? That's all they care about. It's the only metric.
But everywhere I looked, the metric was
take note of that. What he just said
was 30,000. Everyone was
it depends on
not willing to talk to me before we had 30,000.
First of all, fuck ad sales companies. Right. Go after companies yourself.
Yeah, no, we've
fuck
been
them.
trying.
We do.
We haven't really been trying.
Well, I reached out to Guitar Center.
Yeah, here's the thing: is that
Guitar Center's
you
too
can't
big.
you can't do that. Yeah, you're not going to get that. But
we
you can
haven't
get
really been trying.
Is you can figure out, like, also not Guitar Centers, but the local fucking guitar guy.
Yes.
You're not going to get guitar.
Ash.
No, you're going to get like
that's
like
big,
what's the guy in? There's a St. Mark's guitarist that's been there forever. What's his name?
Mojo.
Yeah, there you go,
Dude,
Mojo.
You're talking about the '90s, bro. Chris Mojo hasn't been there for.
But there's another guitar.
Years.
Matt Humanoff. That's gone too.
No, there's a Guitar Center.
Matt Humanoff.
There's a couple. I guarantee you.
Not anymore, bro.
I'm gonna Google it right now.
No, I know who you're talking about. Actually, I know him. Howie.
Okay.
Yeah, on East 4th.
Okay.
On 4th
I know
Street.
I passed a guitar store.
No, that is.
Or
He's still got going.
Rudy's guitars.
So I'm saying is that you're never going to get a Sam Ash or a Guitar Center, but you will get that guy. And you tell that guy, look, I can, whatever, I play this guitar. I'll say I bought it here, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to get. You don't go after number one. Go after number 2 or 3. That's what you want to go after. You're not going to get number 1. You want to get the guy that's still trying to carve out a business himself. That's the way to go. Like we just got I bought an Oculus Quest, which
What's
is it's a VR gaming system, right? And they're like, even though they're pretty big, they don't compare to Sony's VR system or whatever. So I went after them by tagging them in photos and saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this with a band this week," and now I think they're going to come on as a sponsor.
That's amazing.
So things about and then put up a stupid content that incorporates things that you believe in.
Yeah, Vibram 5-finger toe shoes. We should get them.
100% your toe shoes.
Yeah, the toe shoe thing.
Go after. I'm sure there's the Cadillac brand, and then there's the brand that's one below them.
Yeah.
Go after that brand. You will 100% get them.
Speaking of virtual reality, do you think this is a simulation that we're living in?
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe any of that. No, I think it's silly.
Do you think we went to the moon?
Yeah, 100%.
You do?
Do you not?
I don't know. Who knows?
Come on now. Do you really legit not?
I don't fucking know, bro.
You know how much more is involved to fake it? You think everyone faked it? All of them have been fake?
I don't know, man.
There's too many of them.
Look into it.
I've looked into it. I've looked into all that shit. It's just just like, do you believe in a flat Earth?
I don't know.
God damn it.
This is a realm.
God damn
Tesla said it's a realm.
So here's my question with the Earth. Like, if I hold a rock that's round, then I hold a boulder that's round. At what point do they flatten out?
I don't know.
Makes no sense.
Okay.
Come on now.
Hey man, I don't have a dog in the race. What is the expression?
A dog in the fight.
I don't know. I'm just open-minded.
I don't have a chicken in this wheelhouse.
Yeah,
what?
Exactly.
Well, yeah. No. I believe that most of I'm not into many conspiracy theories.
No.
It just feels like it's so much more work.
Yeah.
I think it's far more involved to get people to believe something that's not true.
I think they're fun to talk about and debate about, but I don't really care.
On Sherpa and the Schmuck, we debate gurus all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Marcus, who founded Juice Press, which is, there's 90 locations now, right? And he's gotten into, I think also, it's much easier to start worrying about being a better person and being better to other people when you made millions of dollars and don't have to worry about money anymore and it's not a concern anymore. Then you could start going, well, I don't have to work. Maybe I'll start thinking about being a better person. I don't know. I respect the person more that doesn't have 2 nickels to rub together and is trying to better themselves more than someone that doesn't have to think about money anymore.
So you debate gurus.
Guru, he'll send me like SUTTON. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I know SUTTON.
And boy, did I fucking hate him.
I like SUTTON.
Oh my God,
Why do you hate him?
It's a whole long story.
But give me like the clip
First of all,
notes.
look into him as a person.
Oh, really?
He's wanted for potentially murdering his wife.
No.
His well, he's one of the suspects in it for sure. His charity is not a charity because it's all mandatory. If you want to go to the yoga retreat, they quote it as a donation, but it's mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't be a donation if it's mandatory. When people have come out as being women have come out as they were held as sex slaves in his compound.
Really?
Men have come out saying that they were slaves in the compound. And then his platform is flawed because he's on stage talking about, which I agree with, that it's a beautiful time in that technology allows you to reach out to the world, right? And that it's the only time in history, which I don't agree with this 100%, but that men and women both have an equal voice, right? The reason why I don't agree with that is that I think before Christianity, when it was paganism and women were heralded as birth givers, and so maybe since Christianity forward or since modern times of what we now follow, but let's just say for that to be true, he's telling this story in a Muslim garb, the beard, the souk, the whole thing, right? Which is a religion that believes in Sharia law, which is a religion that belittles women, and you're telling me that you think men and women should be equal. If I was in blackface talking about racial equality, who would listen to me? You look ridiculous.
I think it's a little different.
I don't think it's different.
Let me ask you this. Is there any gurus you like?
I don't know if he's a guru. I like. Also, he named himself a guru, which I don't like that either. But he changed his name legally to Sat Guru.
My new name is Joe Guru.
Mine's Ralph God. I think that's better.
What about Helium Guru?
I'm the Helium Guru.
The guy I respect is Alan Watts. I think Alan Watts is amazing.
Yeah. Well, but he's
not a guru. He's just more like an enlightened guy.
Enlightened, but he would. Do you know his end was like a little controversial?
Yeah. I've been very
heavy drinker.
Yeah, which is I think that it's one of the unfortunate side effects of being enlightened and understanding how little we matter and how little we know.
Do you think we don't matter?
I think that there's an interconnectivity to the universe that we'll never understand, that on a proven scientific level, molecularly, we're made up of the same shit as stars, as this table, as this mic stand. So there is some sort of interconnectivity. I
think we matter.
But I don't think that to assign a meaning when we don't know is dangerous.
Yeah, but I think we matter a great deal to each other.
Yeah, well, that's different. I'm talking about...
Like you as your own person, if you're like trying to elevate yourself, that energy spreads like so far.
Right, but I think you're talking about, which I agree with you, in our more immediate surroundings, that you can have an effect on what's happening on other people. But in the grandiose multi-universe world that we live in, where there's probably uncounted millions of civilizations, my life doesn't matter. Is what I think.
If you believe in the globe theory.
If you believe in that, yeah. I mean, like, it's hard to have any of those conversations. Everything could be fake, right? But I think that I hate science in that I hate that they say this is what we know versus what they should say, which is this is what we know now.
Right.
Because it's going to change. We used to think that there was only one planet. There was only one sun. Yeah. So just say this is what we think is right. But that may change because most people are stupid and they're going to take that as, oh, that's the way it is. Right. And that's the problem. Yeah. So I think all these things are dangerous because most people are stupid.
So only Alan Watts was the only.
So far. The show's not that old.
Who else did you guys do?
I have to look at that. I don't remember the name. I have a really bad memory.
Show, did you do
that? Not yet, no. It was about 6 guys so far. And some of them, I like the idea of separating the messenger from the message.
The message is oftentimes good, and the messenger is
often
always
awful.
It's always flawed.
Yeah, but
like power always corrupts. It just does. Nobody can deal with power.
But anybody that has a compound with people that praise them,
it's problematic.
That's problematic. I can't look past that.
It is.
Like Alan Watts was against that, and a certain other, I forget the other guy, was one of the guys he introduced me to that I liked, who was against that. Anyone's trying to take money from you. One guy.
Yeah. By the way, how's our compound coming along? Is it
built yet?
Is it almost built?
Yeah, we're working.
Good for you guys.
Okay, good.
That's nice. That's a Joseph.
Oh.
I don't know if I did that once. I did yoga once.
Oh.
Had a yoga studio in the city.
You're going to come to yoga with me. Yoga to the people, bro.
I'll try that. But I told you, I went to one.
We went today.
I went to one once, and it was my first time doing yoga.
Yeah.
I sat down. The woman hits a cup with a bell, and ding, and everyone goes, oh. I just got up and left. I was like, I can't do this.
Ain't nothing wrong with an
Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
You can deal with it.
It was too silly for me. Couldn't do it.
What do you think, Ehud? You got any more questions for our friend Ralph?
If you could mention some of the charities you work with.
Right now, it's the number one. It's called Cancer Sucks. Is the one I've been working with lately. They're great. There's not a dollar goes to salaries at all. It all goes to 100%. Well, it's a weird.
And you doing the auctioning is I
do the auction for them.
Has doubled.
I did crazy money for them. Yeah, in the last 2 years we raised like over $1 million.
Brag on it.
It's not about that. I think that
I know it's not, but it's.
But here's the thing: I do believe is that if you believe in what, like I almost got fired from Shiprocked because after Chester Bennington killed himself, and it was just a dumb joke. What I hate about this is it wasn't funny. But I thought it was funny at the time. I still think it could have been funny. I read Chester Bennington killed himself, and then I read O.J. Simpson was released from jail. So I just wrote, maybe Chester didn't want to live in a world where O.J. ran free. That's all, right? And
I mean, that's not horrible.
It's not horrible, but it's not that funny. I mean, I don't mean it's not a good joke. I don't care that it's not funny as in it's a taboo subject.
Right.
I just think I wish it was a better joke.
Okay.
But
you didn't have time to work on it.
Right. But I got crazy shit on by these people that wanted me fired from Shiprocked because I didn't share their views on suicide. Right. And my answer is, hey, just putting up hashtag don't kill yourself or whatever the fuck you're doing does nothing. Do you work for a charity? Do you do anything? Do you work for a suicide prevention line? If you're just pontificating because your daughter killed herself, then you're just as bad as me. You know. Then also, I started looking at this guy's. There was a group of guys that were really trying to get me thrown off the boat. And one guy wrote
probably for something else.
Well, just also because it hit home, that it wasn't anybody that hadn't lost someone to suicide, or their friends. So one guy posted a picture of himself as a girl for Halloween and said, "Look what an ugly girl I make," blah blah blah. And I said, which is not true. But I said, "Hey, my brother's transgender. I'm insulted by this." Right. Which then another guy said, "Oh, I hate tomatoes." I said, "Oh, my father was killed by a tomato truck. I'm insulted by this." You just can't. There's always going to be a way that you're going to fuck something up if you're trying to be politically correct for everybody. And it should just be like, it was just a dumb joke, whatever.
Right.
And they try to get me thrown off the boat that year. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is if you believe in something, try and do something for that group in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's just donating. Yeah. If it's time, money, whatever you can do that, But don't go online and shit on people. Just go be a better person.
I just don't have the energy I don't know who has the energy for that. Like if I heard a bad joke that I thought was like in poor taste, I would just roll my eyes.
One guy said,
okay, you know what I mean? But like, I wouldn't be like, let me take the energy to try to like.
One guy wrote, Ralph doesn't believe in the same way we believe in suicide, so he shouldn't be on the boat. And I said, that's good. We should also only bring the same people that have the same religion. Why don't we only bring white people? Like, what the fuck are you saying? Everyone needs the same exact views? It's like to button this up as one beautiful story, like we said in the beginning, it's okay to not agree with everybody.
Exactly. I mean, we have to be able to have, dialogue back and forth without, like, trying to destroy
and it's just okay to not agree. Like, I just think that's fine. I love being proved wrong. I think I may have told you that at my studio, I have a $500 reward to any staff member that can show me that I taught them how to do something incorrectly. Because I'm self-taught. I'm sure I've made mistakes.
Yeah.
So if you Google something like, if we do it this way, we're going to save a half hour, and you're right, I'm going to give you $500.
Right on.
Because I want people to constantly be trying to improve what we're doing.
Yeah. So what's the future hold for you then?
I don't want to bring on too many new shows, but what I want to do is the top shows have about the number one show is Legion of Skanks gets like 300,000 listeners per episode. I'd like that to be a year from now.
Congrats on
the worst show on the network. I mean, not them, but the 300,000 should be the metric. 100,000 above every show on the network should be. Right, that's where I'd like us to be. I'd like our subscribers to double by next year, and we're going to do 2 or 3 original scripted shows. I want to do 1 or 2 scripted shows, where as opposed to this free-form talk, I want to actually, like, we produced 2 comedy specials, one last year, one the year before, and they both went to number 1 on iTunes. I want to do another one of those next year, but just constantly expanding the brand.
This makes me think of like doing like a rock and roll musical, but podcast style.
That's fun. Yeah, why not? I think that would be cool. I think the ability to do anything now is so amazing because you don't need a $500,000. Yeah, it's just your own creativity.
It's almost like, there's almost a lot of pressure on you. Like when I should be doing, like in my head, I'm always like, I should be doing more. I could do so much more.
Right, but also don't let more dilute what you have here, because this is, I've really enjoyed the shows I've watched, and you are good at this,
Thank you.
So you should be focusing on how do I get this to the, instead of saying, well, I should also, like we print our own merch, right? That didn't happen overnight. It just kind of happened over time. And now that's grown exponentially. We went from selling like 50, 100 pieces a month to last 3 months ago, we sold over 1,000 pieces, which is great, network-wide. And we started selling merch for shows that are not even on my network. Same thing with ad sales. We sell ads for 20 shows that are not on my network, right? So we've been expanding, but it didn't happen overnight. Everything happened over 3 years.
And so when you have these goals like of like listeners per episode and all that, do you write them down? What are your techniques?
I make a to-do list every day.
What are your techniques to manifest this stuff?
I handwrite a to-do list every day.
Visualize the success?
I don't do that.
You don't do that?
I think there's something about, and again, because I'm old.
Writing it down is
But
big.
that's because I'm old. I don't think if you're young, only there, nowhere else.
Right.
I don't think that...
based on me knowing Queens.
Yeah, based on me knowing. No, and your appearance.
The beard adds.
I need to make that hand-to-mind connection.
Clean shaven.
I don't think she needs to do that because you didn't grow up. Like, I don't know how old you are, but if you're in your 20s, you don't have that same connection that I do in being 50 of writing something down. So how you do it doesn't have to be the same. So I'm actually been trying to transition myself into typing it into a to-do list, because just because we were taught hand to paper is why we believe that. But I don't think that that's the important thing. I think that when you're focused on what your goal is and making that list, whether you're doing it in hand or typing or virtual reality script, whatever the fuck, is the act of taking the time of what's doing. And we also in the studios, we have a weekly meeting every Wednesday where we go through where the numbers are for shows once a month, what's happening on the network, what can we do to improve, what was broken, what needs to be fixed, how do we move forward? We do that every Wednesday. So that's part of it too. But for me, like, I also try to bring in people. I'm looking for a new social media guy. I'm looking for people to offload my life, because I get up at 5 a.m. every day, go to bed at midnight. I can't keep that going much longer. Right? Oh, wow. It's just you get up at 5? 5:30, and then go to bed around 11:30, 12. Yeah. I get into bed usually around 11:30 and I sleep by 12. But I'm fucking exhausted all the time. Today, I overslept to 7, and I went to the gym, and I was like, wow, I feel so strong. Because I got 2 extra hours of sleep, which I normally don't get.
5 hours is not enough.
It sucks.
That's not
enough.
It
sucks, yeah. Every once in a while, my body resets, and I take a day where I just need to just relax. But generally, it's like back-to-back meetings. Like after this, I have a 3 o'clock, a 5 o'clock, a 7 o'clock, and then I'll do something at 9 and go to bed by 11:30, get up again and start it all over again.
And you got your date.
I got my date tonight. That's 9.
That's 9.
Yeah.
Ralph, thanks for coming on and doing
Thank you for having me, guys.
It's been a fun episode.
Sorry I was so rambly.
No, enlightening too. And I'm sure there's lots of people that want to start a podcast, so they probably got a lot.
Look up my Entrepreneur article, right? And also, I'm a completely open book. I tell people all the time, email me, ralph@gasdigitalnetwork.com. You have questions, I'll fucking answer any question, because no one ever helped me in radio. Anyone helped me in any of these aspects. And I always said, I'm never going to be that person. You have any questions, how to start a network, whatever the fuck, just email me, Ralph@GasDigital. Follow me everywhere at I am Ralph Sutton on every social media thing. I believe in social symmetry. You don't have that.
I know.
I'm mad at that.
Joseph_Arthur on Instagram.
But then it's something else on Twitter.
Joseph Arthur
don't
on
like
Twitter.
It. Don't like it.
Yeah.
Social symmetry.
Yeah, oh well. That's the first I've heard that, so let me adjust. Thanks, Ralph.
Thanks for having me.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. We'll do a third arm wrestle.
No, I'm done. Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.